Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Ladder Habits podcast, where we provide faith-based habits to sustain your future blessings. Listen, as always, I am excited about this episode. This episode is very practical today. We are going to be talking about health, your physical health. You know, our emotional health is important, our spiritual health is important, but our physical health is just as important. And so let's just jump right into it here today. This episode we're just calling health, your health. And so we're going to talk about our physical health today and the importance of that. We're going to be coming out of 1 Corinthians 6, and we're going to start in verse 18. And it says, "Flee sexual immorality. Every sin that a man does is outside the body, but he who commits sexual immorality sins against his own body. Or do you not know that your body is the temple of the Holy Spirit who is in you, whom you have from God, and you are not your own? For you were bought at a price. Therefore glorify God in your body and in your spirit, which are God's." And so you can, at first glance, you probably are thinking, okay, no, what does that have to do with physical health? But the reality is that, even though he's talking about in these scriptures we just read, these verses about fleeing sexual immorality, he's talking about he's highlighting the fact that our bodies and the health of our bodies, our physical bodies, is important to God, and that we have to be aware of the things that would hurt our physical body, that would be toxic to our physical body. Here, he's talking about sexual immorality, but there's so many things that we encounter on a daily basis that can affect our physical body and the health of our physical body. And of course, one of the big things is, what we eat, drink. And so today we're going to talk about that. Today I have the privilege of having my dear brother and friend, I call him my brother, dad, with us today on the program, my friend Carl Cherry. Carl, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today.
Oh, it's my pleasure, brother. I'm glad to be here.
So for the past 10 months, Carl has adopted the keto lifestyle. As a result, he's lost 75 pounds and also reversed his type 2 diabetes. Can we just take a minute and say thank you, Jesus, hallelujah, for that? No longer on diabetic meds as a result of being determined to making significant lifestyle changes. Carl was an avid bodybuilder, power lifter during his high school and college days, and was pretty obsessive about that lifestyle. But through life circumstances, fell away from the healthy life and found himself ballooning to upwards of 648 pounds.
Listen to that, man. Bro. Is that insane?
That is wow. After years of living life like this, he finally submitted to lap band surgery. He was able to lose 200 pounds over the course of 3 years, but still found it hard to continue the weight loss. And then he discovered keto. I am amazed at your story, Carl, because the one thing that attracts me to it is that, you're not sitting here, and all of us that know you you're not sitting here and you're not like, 6-pack abs with 24-inch guns and in the gym every second of the day. You're not that guy, and
not anymore.
Right. But
I long for those days.
Right? Sometimes. Me too. That's why I'm in the gym. All right. But a lot of these people that give advice about physical health, I sometimes look at them and I'm like, bro, come on. Like, you're not average Joe like me. You're like, you're this guy that just is in the gym all the time and has the money and has the time and all this. And you don't have, the 4 kids that, you don't have the things that I got going on, and it's hard to relate, but your story is so, I believe, relatable. And for those of you that are able, you should go on YouTube and check out Carl's YouTube channel and his Road to a Better Me video series that he started about this weight loss journey. It is very, very insightful, very practical, very relatable, again, like I said, and you will be encouraged by that. But I want to talk with you, Carl, for today about kind of what, where you were at before you started this this journey again, and specifically getting into the keto lifestyle, kind of where you were at before that, physically, emotionally, spiritually, and then kind of what brought you to this point of change, and then kind of talk to us about where you're at now, and just kind of what is happening because of these lifestyle choices now that you've made.
Well, I tell you, I've had an extremely interesting life. My 55 years here on the planet so far, and just count myself blessed that I've been able to do a lot of things that I've done despite my physicality. And I mean, years ago, like you said, at one point I was obsessive about being in the gym 24/7. I would do 2 a days easily, and I had training partners, and we would hit multiple gyms, in the area, and just train. And that was my lifestyle, along with being a musician.
And that's one thing. Let me stop you just for a second and let everybody know. That's one thing that we won't touch in this episode, probably maybe in another episode. But Carl is a phenomenal musician, like hands down, like best of the best bass player, drummer, keyboard, like. And just a quick little story on that. The first time I met Carl, I was like, "Is this my dad?" Like, that's why I call him Brother Dad. Like, he is a phenomenal musician, big guy. You guys can see in this picture here, like, very easily could be my dad. No disrespect to my biological dad. Love him, and him and I look like. But Carl is a phenomenal musician, and we'll maybe talk about that in another episode. But yeah, you'll be able to dive into that if you get into his video series and kind of look him up. But anyway, I didn't want to detract, but I just had to make that point real quick. So,
well, when I got into full-time ministry back in let's see, I met my wife in 93. 93 is when I got into full-time ministry. I was struggling with my weight back then, and man, you just get to a point where you get sick of it. It's like I got, and I mean, and still I'm still in that spot where I'm still, I'm not anywhere where I want to be as of yet. My heaviest was 648 pounds, and when people look at me now, they go, "Man, how did that even happen?" And I'll tell you how it happened. This is where my powerlifting background was not necessarily all that helpful to me, because I was able, I'm 6'7", 6'8", and I was just able to carry that weight.
Yeah.
And it was never an issue. I never really thought about it. But the problem was, I continued to eat like I was used to eating when I was training, when I was no longer training. And the body stimulus is just different now, and it's going, well, okay, we're going to make some adjustments. And man, I just put on weight and put on weight and put on weight and put on weight. And before long, I finally started to notice it. And I remember going to the mall with my wife one day, and I hate the mall. And this was like one day I got out of the car, and I really took notice of how hard it was for me to walk. Like I was really feeling that, that walk, and truth be told, today still I lumber. I don't necessarily feel like I walk yet.
Yeah.
I lumber because, I'm just under 400. Let's see, I'm 448 now. So, I still have a considerable amount of weight to lose. But still, that's better than, 648.
Absolutely.
And the lap band helped. But the thing about the lap band was I had to get these fills. I don't know, any listeners that are familiar with lap bands. It's essentially this balloon that gets, wrapped around the entrance of your stomach, and then they fill it. And then as the port fills up, it swells up and essentially makes, how you say, what's the word I'm looking for? It's harder for food to get through the area, so you don't eat as much. You get full quicker. And but what started to happen was that they could never find my port. Like weekly, I'd have to go in for fills, and the syringe that they used was huge. And I got tired of being a human pincushion, man. I mean, I would come out of the office with just feeling like I was like shivved in prison or something. And and I couldn't do it anymore. I said, you know what, I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore. And so I stopped the fills. The band is still, on my stomach, and I still have to, I can't gorge myself with food. It'll easily come back up. So I still have that. But man, it just got to the point where I felt like God. I can tell you I've always been interested in being the best that I could for God, whether it be musically, whether it be mentally, spiritually, whatever. But I got tired. You just get tired, and I'm like, God, what am I going to, I said, here I am again, struggling with this weight thing. I got to do something. And then one night I felt like God just said, hey, I have more for you, but I need you to be healthy in order for you to receive it.
Right.
And it was a wake. It was yet another wake up call. And I remember a Friday, August 17th. I remember the date because, our brother, Tyrone, was out of town. Mr. Tyrone Williams.
He's going to be on it. He's going to be on a later episode.
Yeah. He's our brother, our musical brother, our ministry brother, period. He's everything. He was out of town, and he was visiting somebody in DC. I think it might have been his mother. And it was 11:20 a.m. And I remember the text. And essentially, I told him what was going on with me. I said, hey, man, I'm missing you. And I'm going to paraphrase the text. And I said, everything's good here. And I've had some moments of things that I'm really needing to change about my life. And I said, I feel like God has given me an urgency about my health and that I seriously need to get things right. And I remember saying, as I'm texting this, my spirit is equating my dietary decisions to succumbing to sin unapologetically.
That's good.
Yeah, man. And I mean, it was like that, and I said, as much as God loves me, I can't help but feel like I'm wasting or shortchanging my gift because physically my weight gets in the way of aspects of what he might have for me. And I remember to say, I told him I was in this headspace for a few days now. And I felt I needed to move on to develop better disciplines to help me ultimately be a better me. And that's where the title of my video blog came from. And I continued to say, hey, I've spent the week digging into my library of nutritional books and dusted off sports nutrition books. And, because I was a nutrition major in college. That was like
wow. I didn't know that.
Along with, I was a jazz studies major, and I was here on a scholarship for jazz studies. But I also was really interested in nutrition, which is kind of ironic. Right. Yeah. So I was really interested in nutrition but in physical fitness. But at that time, it wasn't ironic because I was really into that. And so I figured, you know what, I'll be a musician, and I could also be like a trainer for a sports team, that kind of thing. And I was really thinking ahead with that. But also, by the time I had written this text to Ty, I was already in that headspace of like changing my lifestyle. So I started cutting out sugars, and I started, and a lot of starchy foods, a lot of carbohydrates, and I started intermittently fasting.
Yeah, that's
Um,
helped me a lot personally.
yeah,
That's a
man.
big one, and I tell people now. I just told a guy yesterday on Facebook. I said, he was like, "Oh, I've got neuropathy, non-diabetic related. What should I do?" I said, "Man, intermittent fasting is a huge help."
Yeah, it's been a game changer for me, and it makes
Right.
sense. Like the science of it makes sense. It's being a type 2 diabetic. I did a whole bunch of research on it, and I came across a couple people, you know, online that really just spoke to me. One of them was a guy by the name of Dr. Berg, and and then a couple other guys. And a lot of what they had in common was what they were saying is the reason why we have these insulin spikes is because when we eat, it spikes our insulin, and it also depends on what we eat as to how high that insulin gets spiked. So I'm thinking to myself, well, shoot, if I cut out sugars and processed foods and things like that, then I'm not going to spike my insulin unnecessarily with food stuff. And if I, do the intermittent fasting thing, then um, my insulin will be able to hang out at, a level that's normal. Um, and it just all started to make sense. And then I just started digging in more to the science of it. And then I started to realize, man, what a bill of goods we've been selling,
Right.
nutritionally. The nutritional triangle is all off. I mean, it should be more proteins and fats and less carbs. And so anyway, I started to do this, and at the time, um, I didn't really realize it was like keto until I started, listening to these brothers talk. I said, so keto, okay, all right, I guess that's what this is called. So already naturally, I was starting to do stuff that made sense to me,
Right.
you know. And then you don't realize how much sugar you
Right.
eat. You don't realize how much carbohydrates you eat. You just don't. You just kind of you get used to a certain kind of lifestyle, and that's just what you do. And before long, I just started noticing my blood sticks were different. They were coming down. I mean, I would do my blood in the morning, and I would do it a couple hours after a meal. And normally, they would be anywhere between 170, 190. And as I started to adopt this new lifestyle, my morning sticks, even currently, are never any more than like 86.
Wow.
Yeah, man. And if I do, like I'll make the decision to like, you know what, I'm gonna have a piece of cake. I'm gonna have that today. And if that happens, if I take my take my stick again, it never goes above 110. So after a while of doing this, man, my doctor was thrilled. She would take tests every time and go, man, what is going on with you? This is amazing. What's going on with your blood work? And I said, I'm adopting, I guess, what's called the keto lifestyle. And she was like, whatever you're doing, keep it up because it's working. And with every visit, my blood work gets better and better. My A1C is like
Oh, that's
5.6.
awesome.
Yeah, man. So um, I'm thrilled, but like everything else, man, like consistency is the key.
Yeah.
Um, and it's got to be a lifestyle change, and and I will slip. I will definitely slip. I won't have like days of slipping, but I might. Um, well, geez, I haven't had a hamburger with a bun since September of last year.
Wow.
Because the hamburger itself is not bad.
Right.
It's when I found that when you combine it with the bun, that's when you start dealing with stuff. And so now when I get a hamburger, I get it no bun. Um, I'm not afraid of butter anymore. I'm not afraid of heavy cream. It's not like I do a whole bunch of that stuff, but um, eating food in its natural state as close as possible. And I've increased my greens. So my wife makes a green drink almost every morning, or I'll have kale. Kale is my green drink, and I have an apple cider vinegar concoction that I put together twice a day. A couple tablespoons of apple cider vinegar, in a 16 one of these little 16 flow ounce water bottles, and I put some stevia in there and a tablespoon of lemon, and I shake it up. And I know that's been really helping, keep my sugar levels and all that nice and stable. I do it in the morning when I get up, and I do it before I go to bed.
I want to make a plug really quick again for because some of you may be listening or watching and be like, man, now that drink sounds good, or man, I wonder how I could. If you go on to Carl's YouTube channel, Road to a Better Me, there's a specific episode that he lists all.
It's called the drinks.
Exactly. He lists all these drinks that you can begin to drink to help you physically get or be healthy. So if you're like, man, I would like to try that drink, and what else is he drinking? Go on to his YouTube channel and watch that episode called The Drinks, and you'll learn a whole bunch. So I know.
Yeah, and basically, if you put in Road to a Better Me, or if you put in Carl Cherry the second. I'll
and we'll put the YouTube link to the channel in the episode notes, so then that way you guys can go on and click, but after, of course, you click on all the Ladder Habit podcast stuff. You go.
Yeah,
right?
of course.
go.
Right.
Go.
But you know what? Real quick though, I want to preface. So I'm not a doctor by any stretch of the imagination. I wouldn't suggest doing any of this stuff, unless it's under some type of doctor supervision. What my doctor is awesome. She has been one of the best doctors I've ever had. And what I love about her is that she doesn't look for the next pill to put me on. She looks for the root of the issue, to get to that issue with hope of taking me off of the medication. So as soon as she started to see that my blood results were getting better and better and better, she started weaning me off of the diabetic meds. And then before long, she says, Carl, I really feel like you don't need these anymore. Yeah. And if these are your consistent readings, let's just take you off of them, and we'll take more tests. So she took me off of them, I'm going to say January, I think, or December. And then retested me again this year. I think the last time I saw her was in April. March, April. Yeah. I saw her at the beginning of the year. Literally, it was like the first day of the year. She took me off the meds, and then I saw her. Was it January, February, March, April? So I see her every 4 months. So then I saw her in April, and my readings were even better. And she goes, "Good, we made the right decision." So,
well, and I think that's good. Just to highlight again what you just said is that it's when you're talking about physical health, it's important that you have a group of advisors, of counsel. The Bible talks about plans fail for lack of counsel. So as Carl is saying, it's important that when you really are making a decision or decisions to better your physical health, make sure your doctor's on board. You know what I'm saying? Make sure your spouse is on board. You know, make sure that you have people that are around you that are on board and are going to support you, not just, you know, be your cheerleaders, but actually, you know, like Carl was talking about, his doctor, you know, looking at his meds and not just being, you know, throwing meds at him, but really being on board with him in this journey. You know, it's important. It's important not just to be like, okay, I want to get better and I'm going to do X, Y, and Z, but it's important to have people around you that are going to help you practically do what you want to do, you know, to better your physical health.
No, that's really important. And, you know, I definitely have opinions about certain doctors I have had. And I talk about that on my blog. And one of the things I say is, you know, do your research, you know, make sure, you know, we have all these resources that are readily available to any of us that has access to the internet, you know, and it's like, you do your research, do your own reading. You know, it's like, don't just depend on your doctor. It's like, you know, have a good discussion with your doctor, you know, and challenge them, you know, bring up certain things, you know, like, hey, you know, I've never been one of these guys that just goes, oh, okay, that's a medication, fine. I ask questions. That's the one time I'm like our brother Ty, because, you know, Ty is the question guy.
He's the Riddler.
So, he's the Riddler, man. You know, and so and that's just that, you know, I laugh now when I think about it, but, you know, I had one specific doctor who was not like the one I have now. And she didn't look to help me get off. Off of the medication. She was looking for more to put me on. And I started questioning that. And she got upset. You know, I told her, I says, you know, if I'm thinking you work for the pharmaceutical company as much as you try and push meds on me all the time. I says, not once have you asked me, can we put a plan in place to help me get off of these meds? You just assume that because of the way that I am, that I want to stay this way? Really? Come on. You know, and so, you know, it didn't end well with this particular doctor, you know, so I ended up looking for another one, and God brought, you know, this, my latest doctor into my life, and she's awesome. I'm really hoping you don't hear my dog barking in the background. Can you hear that? But yeah, man, consistency is the key to this, and information is the key to all of this. And I really believe that God has more for me, and I still have a ways to go. I would like to get down. I'm at, you know, just a little under 450. I would like to get down. Like to lose another 150 pounds. I'm thinking for my height and my structure, you know, I'm meso-endo, so I think I could probably carry, you know, 298, 300 pounds comfortably. Right. You know, and be able to fit in places and not have to spend, you know, extra money on plane tickets. Because when I fly now, I have to buy 2 seats. Yeah. You know, and I can't buy anything off the rack. But I've never been able to buy anything off the rack. You know, it's like I got a size 22 shoe.
The only person I know in my life that has bigger feet than I do. Like, I thought I was something at a 16, 17. Like, 22 people.
I got a size 22 shoe.
This gives you, those of you that are listening, like, that gives you just a little bit more, like, description of Carl. Like, he is a big boy regardless of how much he weighs. He's a big guy.
Yeah, when someone says he's just big boned it. Yeah, that's
right.
true.
Right. You're like, oh no, that's true. That is true.
I come from healthy stock. Right. I found out I have Scandinavian blood in me too. Okay. I found that out. Yeah, man. So I must be part Viking.
Right. There you go. That's the problem right there.
Oh my goodness. Woo. Yeah, man.
No. Right. And that's, I mean, it really, the thing that you've said multiple times, and I want to just kind of, kind of start landing this plane, is that our our physical health is not just about us being healthy, about us, like Carl was saying, not having to buy an extra seed, or it's not just about that, but it's about what, again, just what this podcast is all about, the latter things, the latter glory, the blessings God wants to put in our lives. I heard a preacher say one time, God is not going to give $1 million idea to a 1 cent body. I mean, that
That's
is
deep,
so,
man.
that is
Yeah.
stuck with me forever, because that is the reality. God has so many things planned for us while we are here on this earth, but our physical health can prevent that from happening. I
Yeah,
don't
it
I don't
absolutely
want to
can.
I don't want to go to the grave and go up to heaven, and God and the Lord's like, hey, well done, faithful, good, good, faithful servant, but I wish I could have, finished this.
Yeah, like check
Right.
this out.
Look what you could have done. You know what I'm saying?
Like what you could
Like,
have done.
and I'm not,
Yeah,
and
man.
I'm, and my mom, she died back in the end of 2013, and I believe to this day there was some more left in her. I believe she was just at the start of a new season of ministry that God wanted to do in her life. And I have to be careful about talking about my mom because I don't want to cry. So, she had, I think she had some left in her, but her physical health was so bad. And just because of some choices that she made, or in some choices she chose not to make. And so it's imperative that we really look at our physical health,
Yeah.
and take it seriously, because it's serious to God. I mean, not just,
You
yeah, go
know,
ahead.
the other piece to this too is um you talking about not crying, now I'm about to. The other piece of this is my family, bro.
Right.
It's like I have a beautiful, just turned 16-year-old son. He is a blessing, and I have a beautiful wife, blessing, and I don't want to leave them sooner than I should,
Right.
um, because I need to be here for them, and I really need to be here for my boy. Um,
Yeah.
I really want to be able to make sure that I'm pouring into him what I need to, and we're doing that as husband and wife, and and I get to, I just want to see him flourish in life, and I want to be a part of that. I want to see those successes that I know God has for him, and if I'm not here, I won't be able to do that, and
Right.
I that and my friends, I mean you and Ty, there's a lot of times, there's a relationship that the listeners don't know about you and me, and
Right. Right.
and Ty, and I've always felt that God has got the three of us tied at the hip for a reason, and
Absolutely.
um, I mean, your weight loss journey that started years ago, and you're battling your diabetes and all of that, and Ty's battles, and the fact that he's still here, and the listeners will get a chance to hear his incredible story.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Um, you know, um, I feel like God has set us apart for something.
Hmm.
And I feel like all three of us, we're, as long as we're sitting in the right spot, and doing what to allow God to use us as effectively as He can. I feel like we're even more powerful when He gets to use all three of us at the
Right.
same time for
Right.
something. So I want to be ready. I want to be prepared for when that call comes.
Right.
And, I feel like I gotta be ready. I gotta be in shape, and right now I'm not. I'm better than I was. I'm moving in the right direction, but I got a long way to go yet.
Right.
And, and I'm bound and determined, because I believe this is from God. I believe this is God, really impressing upon me. Come on, man, you can do this. And, um, I want to believe. I want to believe that. I read from a friend of mine this morning that said, um, I don't remember the exact quote, but essentially he was saying, man, our belief in what God is doing and can do is so important.
Yeah.
It's our faith. Our faith is so important. It's almost like that's the linchpin as to whether or not you get to step in heaven. It's like, what's your faith? How is your faith? Do you believe that I can do what I can
Right.
do? Do you believe that I can make the changes in your life that I can do? And man, when it's a faith thing, you got to come correct, man. You can't say one thing. You can't pray for change and then take it all back.
Come on.
You can't do that. I mean, that's essentially you're saying, well, God, I trust you, but I don't really. It's like, I'm still going to fret about this, even though, I've been told to cast all my cares on
Right.
you, to leave it at your feet. Okay. But as I'm walking away, I realize that all my cares are still chained to my ankle. And I'm now wondering what all that noise is. And that noise is all my cares still following behind
Right.
me. And if I'm truly casting them at your feet, then I should allow you to unlock the shackles from my ankles. And I have to do that. That's nothing God can do. I have to do that. I have to go, here it is. I really trust you. I really believe that you will move and change and do what you say you can do in my life, and really believe it. And my belief and my faith, that's the key to my shackles being unlocked. And if I really don't have that, then I'm going to always carry those burdens, man.
Yeah.
I'm always going to find myself, it's like a hamster wheel of stuff. And, and you're going to wonder, how come? How come? How come? How come? And God's like, hey, I've been here.
Right.
Quit taking all your stuff back all the time.
Yeah.
If you want to leave it with me, then leave it. And let me handle it.
Well, right, and it's and kind of the opposite of that too is like, we can't just sit here and say, okay, God, help me physically get more, be better, and more healthy, and then just sit there on the couch and continue to eat potato
exactly.
It's
exactly,
got to be this balance thing of, like you're saying, okay, God, first of all, I'm coming to you knowing that I physically need to be more healthy. I emotionally need to be more healthy. I need to, whatever. I need to be more healthy. And I'm trusting you, God, to be the one that helps me do this. And now I'm going to do X, Y, and Z, knowing that you're going to partner with me. It can't be this. It can't be this one or the other. It's got to be both alongside of each other. It's got to be Bible talks about faith without works is dead. I'm not going to have any change, like you're talking about. I'm not going to have any change unless I'm first going to God and saying, God, I know this needs to change. I need your help. And because reality is, I could go to the gym every single day. I could be eating right. I could do all these things. But the reality is I'm not going to really fully experience everything God has for me in that, the latter things, the blessings and all that, if I shut him out and just say, okay, well, God, I'm going to do this and this and that and the other. And, and it's just a me thing.
Yeah.
We have to have God
Absolutely.
alongside of us in the efforts we make to be physically, more healthy.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Good stuff. Like Carl said, you guys don't know the relationship that him and I and Tyrone, our friend Tyrone, have. And this podcast, this episode probably could go for the next hour, because we could tail off and just start talking about so many things. We could talk about, we could talk about emotional health. We could talk about mental health. We could talk about,
man.
As a pastor and a leader, being healthy and what it looks like to be unhealthy. I mean, we could go so many directions, but
absolutely.
I feel like that what has been said today has been really good and really rich. I always, and I don't know if I've said this before in an episode, but I always pray and I always ask the Holy Spirit to come into these episodes and speak, because I know that those of you that are listening and watching are the main reason, part of the main reason that God led me to start this podcast in the first place. It's not just about me. Carl's weight loss is just not about him. It's about what God wants to do through us, and how he wants to minister to the people that are around us. I know, Carl, for you, and we haven't really even talked about it, but I know that I have no doubt there's been people around you, or are people around you that are encouraged, and for lack of a better term, ministered to by your weight loss and your keto lifestyle.
Man, I had a young man come up to me. I'm gonna say probably about a month or so ago, and was real forthright. And he says, he goes, "I watch your videos," and I'm always shocked. I'm always shocked at that, because really, I didn't do this and automatically go, I need to record this because I think everybody will need to see it. That was never my intent at all. And this is Ty's fault again. Bringing up Ty, because I was at his house one day and we were talking about this thing, talking about my journey, and I think I was doing we were doing a photo shoot, and so I was shooting some portrait stuff for him, and somehow we got on the subject of what I was doing, and I said, man, who would really even care about this? And there was that moment where Ty just like looked at me over his glasses as if to say, "Are you serious?" And and I'm like, "What?" And he goes, "Yeah, man." He goes, "You should." Yes, he goes, as much touch as you have in this community, I think it's absolutely imperative that you record what's going on with you. And I'm almost certain if Ty had not made a deal out of that, I probably wouldn't have bothered to vlog any of this. And truth be told, it's been a little while since I've done a vlog, because I have an obsessive personality. And so when I want to do something, I want to get in there and do it right. And then all of a sudden, that's the thing I'm just thinking of. And I remember having this conversation with my wife. And I says, "Yeah, I'm going to start, vlogging about this." And she goes, "Well, I think that's great. But, I also know you." And I said, "What's that mean?" She goes, "Well, you get obsessive about stuff, and don't go over the top with this. It doesn't have to look like an HBO movie. It's just, make it simple, keep it simple, so you don't stress yourself." And you know what? As much as I went into that with that thought process, the last vlog I did was, I'm going to say, a couple months ago, and that was about my dog, who is also a big part of this with me. Best thing that's ever happened to me, four-legged wise. And I got overwhelmed. Like, man, this is like a lot. Like every week, like trying to think of something that was interesting to talk about or vlog about, And so I said, I need to give myself a break. So I gave myself a self-imposed break from that for a while, and slowly but surely kind of eking my way back to vlogging again because of this young man. I knew I'd come back around. This young man walked up to me and he says, "Carl, I need to see your videos because they're helping."
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "Can you tell me how?" He goes, seeing your struggle, that it's not all easy. He goes, it's when you normally look at like YouTube people, they and Instagram people, they want you to believe that everything is
Right.
perfect.
That's what I was saying in the beginning. Right.
Yeah, he goes, but you just pretty much do what you do.
Yeah.
And he goes, I really appreciate that from you, and I hope you can find it within yourself to continue to do this. And it touched me, it touched me like a ton of bricks. I'm like, yeah, okay, all right, God, thanks for sending him my way.
Right. Right.
Let me get back on the stick with this and start getting some more vlogs out. So yeah, that's going to happen within the next month or so. Yeah, I figure I have to do one on the clothes.
Yeah.
Because I'm swimming in everything now. Man.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
I have no doubt.
It's ridiculous. So I'll be doing a vlog soon. Probably about that. I'll keep it really short because my vlogs end up being somewhere between 10, maybe 15 minutes. Right. But in any case, yeah, man, this is what I'm doing. It's the keto lifestyle. I'm digging it. I'm not missing anything. Every once in a while, I will partake, in some carbohydrates. I might get a hankering for a waffle.
I eat Lolo's.
Yeah, man. Yeah, exactly. I might want to have a piece of cake or dessert. So I don't deny myself that when it comes, I just don't make it a habit. So it's like I'm not eating it every day. The things that are becoming habitual, are my leafy greens, my everything that's supposed to be healthy for me. That's what's become the everyday. The intermittent fasting, that's what's become the everyday. And I got to bump up my workout game. I'm not doing that as consistently as I should be. So I gotta get that pumping now, and then I feel that's going to take me to the next level.
Yeah.
So for me, it's gotta happen in stages, because I know if I jump head first into the deep end and just start, trying to do this, push, I'll burn myself out and go, you know what, never mind, I'm not going to do this. So I've been eking through this, and it's been working for me. I've been able to be consistent with the things I need to be consistent with. And so, and I'm journaling, so I can go, okay, so here's where I'm going to start this, and, start doing the gym on a regular basis, and see where that takes me. And then, then I'll probably do vlogs that will, start to, keep track of that the next level of my road to a better me. Because I definitely want to, I want my last vlog to be, what? I want the thumbnail to say 298. I did it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did it. And I figure, I can probably do that within the next, couple years or so. Losing the weight the right way.
Right, the right way.
And yeah, the right way. And that's the key, the right way. Not too quickly. Because I have a lot of weight to lose. I don't want to have to deal with loose skin issues. And that's a whole nother thing.
Yeah, no, for real.
Yeah, and it's real.
It is.
You find yourself wearing different kind of clothes, not so much just because you can fit different kind of clothes, but now because you're trying to hide, your loose skin now. Yeah, so that's for a whole nother podcast. But Noah, this has been wonderful.
Yeah,
man. I absolutely love this platform and what you're doing. I love it, and I've listened to the episodes previous, and I'm really moved by what you're doing, my friend.
I appreciate that, man.
Continue this, man. Continue this.
I appreciate that
because it's needed.
Yeah, man.
It's needed.
We all. I think you hit it. It's like nobody's perfect. Nobody is like a rock star at anything like that. Any of us, any of the things we've talked about in this podcast thus far, I am not an expert on. These are things that God has spoken to me and has been processing with me and continues to process with me to the point where I'm like, oh man, like I was reminded of one of my podcast episodes a couple days ago about what was it? It was about check your emotions. Carl's phone's ringing. It's calling him to tell him.
I know, and I'm like going, is anybody going to answer that? Because okay, there you go. Oh my gosh!
So
someone answer the phone, please.
Right, very, very. Real here. We're not. It's not staged.
Oh my gosh! I can't even believe that happened.
Here at Ladder Habits, we're real. Like there's our 2-second commercial. But no, these are things, and that's why Carl, I brought him on the episode to talk because, as he shared, I mean, he is a real guy that is experiencing real things, but is making intentional choices and putting into place intentional habits to sustain his future blessing. That's what it's about. It's doing these things we talk about, forgiveness, like checking our emotions, all the things we talk about, is so that we can have everything God intends for us to have. I don't want to be shortchanged. I don't want you to be shortchanged in anything that God has. And that's what it's about. And our physical health is absolutely important. Probably one of the most important things for us to talk about, especially in the world we live in today.
Yes,
because emotions and stress and all the different things can totally send us in a physical, direction that is not good, and so we have to be making intentional choices, so that not only we can receive the blessing, but that God can use us to the fullest extent. I remember specifically, and I'll share this last story. I remember specifically right after shortly after I kind of had lost all the initial weight that I had lost, because at one point I was 340, and now I am 250. I'm trying to come back down. I was at 230. But life is life. But anyway, I remember after I initially lost a whole bunch of the weight, I remember shortly thereafter, I took my trip to Kenya, and I thought to myself, wow, like just some of the situations that I was in while I was in Kenya, the flights and just different situations. I thought, man, if I was heavier,
it would have been extremely
uncomfortable, yep. And I wouldn't have been able to be in some.
Oh, come on!
I wouldn't be able to be in some of the places that that I'm in. Hello.
Good grief! Stop ringing. I'm so sorry, man.
It's all good.
And it's like I can't stop it.
It's all good.
It's like I don't have like a, hold on. I'm stopping you now. Get out of here now.
Someone's trying to be on the podcast. That's what it is.
So embarrassing. my son has my phone. So like my bass still rings even though my phone is not in it.
Gosh. Well, we better wrap this up so that phone call can come through.
Yeah, we professionals here. You can
tell.
We
do it legit here. But anyway, thank you all for joining us on this episode of Ladder Habits Podcast. I'm going to put the information on how to get a hold of Carl and how to specifically watch his Road to a Better Me series. I'm going to put it in the show notes so you can go and check it out and subscribe to the channel, watch the videos, and just send some encouragement his way. is, you know, really this walk we walk as believers is an everyday thing. It's not, nobody has the corner on it. Nobody has, you know, is the best at it. You know, even I'm sure, you know, the great preachers and teachers of our day are not, you know, would easily say they're not perfect, that they don't have it all together. It's just us every day making intentional choices and developing intentional habits that are going to sustain what God wants to do in our life. So thank you, Carl, for being on this episode with me. And we're going to have another episode where we talk about all the music side of you as well. I might even do you and Ty on the episode we're going to do about sound over song. But that's for a later time. So that's something for you all listeners and watchers and viewers to look forward to. But thank you, Carl, for being on. Thank you all for tuning in, listening to this episode today. And we will see you next time right here on the Ladder Habits Podcast. Be blessed.